Hello everybody and welcome back to another Adobe Quick Tip. This week we're going to take a look at adjustment layers in Photoshop. Here you can see that I have an image with a man that I've masked and I've added to a background. But right now this man doesn't look very much like he fits on the background. The image looks a little fake. Now, back in the day, what I would do is I would go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels and adjust his color levels. Now, the problem with Image Adjustment Levels is that this is a destructive edit. When I do this change, I cannot come back from it. Yes, I can push Control Z or Command Z if you're on a Mac and undo, but it's not a situation where I can easily fix this later on. Whereas if I do the same thing with an adjustment layer, I can always come back to the PSD and edit it. So let's take a look at how to do that. First up, we need the Layers panel open. If you don't see your Layers panel, it's under Window and Layers. And then what I want to do is I want to select the layer that I want to adjust. Down here, I see a little bouncy ball. That's what I always say my adjustment layers option looks like. And in here, we can see that we can do things like solid, color, gradient, pattern, brightness, contrast, levels. And for today's demo, we're just going to do levels. Now, some people like curves. I'm just not a curves person. I'm a levels person. If you like curves, feel free to do curves through here, but personally, I like levels. And so I select levels, and this brings up this little properties panel. And with this properties panel, with levels, what we can see is right off the bat, we can tell this is an RGB image, red, green, blue. And then we can see the shadow, midtone, and highlight. And personally, when I'm adjusting, I always like to start at the midtone and then work from there. Now, the first thing I want to show you here is something that I will say perplexed me when I first started learning about adjustment layers. And that is, if I adjust this, you can see that this is adjusting everything. It's not only adjusting my man. When I used to go into image adjustments levels, it would only adjust the layer I was on. And I was frustrated by this, but then I learned it's as simple as one little button click. Right here, there's a little box that says this adjustment affects all layers below. If I click on this, it will only adjust the layer below the adjustment. So watch what happens if I click on this. See, now it's only adjusting the man, and whatever I do to him is what the adjustment is. Now, with this red, green, and blue, as I'm adjusting it, it's only adjusting his brightness, and it's really not giving me what I want to get, because if I look at this image, and you might think I'm a little crazy, but I can tell that he looks a little bit green compared to his background. In the background, there's a lot of blues and reds. And he looks a little green because of that. So what I want to do is, instead of adjusting the overall red, greens, and blues, I'm going to select this little drop down, and I can get into those individual layers and start to adjust. So if I go into red and then start to adjust that red, I can bring that up. If I go into blue, again, I like to work from midtones. You can find what works for you. I can bring that up. And then I might go into green and bring that down a little bit. Now he looks a little bit bright, so I might go back to the overall RGB and darken that down a little bit. I can also go into the individuals if I wanted to darken down some of those red shadows or some of those blue shadows. I can start to do that. Now with this, I can sit here and tweak this out all day. I'm going to get this pretty close for the demo. I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys watching me adjust my levels all day. But I will tell you, it's one of those situations where as you practice with levels, as you get better with it, you will start to really get the hang of it. It takes a little bit of practice, but now you can see that, you know, this again is a demo. It's not 100% perfect, but he's looking pretty close to his background. And a really great way, one of the other things I like about this, and it's a really great way to see how your adjustments look, is that now that this is an adjustment layer, I can turn off this eyeball and see what he looked like before. So you can see now how he's blending more into that background. It feels more like he's matching the color of the background. And before I said he looked a little bit green, and you might not have been able to see that, but now check this out. If I do it how it should look and then go back, you probably see that he looks a little bit green. And again, with this, as if I save this as a PSD, I can always come back and edit this later. I can always adjust these levels, and it's not a situation where I'm stuck with one color. Well, that's it for this week. I hope to see you guys back again next week for another quick tip.